In class, it's not so bad. But when school's out and the others go off to enjoy themselves, well, if you're what they call a shy guy, that's when you really feel it. The loneliness of being new in town. You don't know how to make people like you, and you find yourself holding a grudge against them. You're standing on the outside looking in. You might have something to contribute to their conversation, but nobody cares whether you do or not. There's a barrier, and you don't know how to begin breaking it down. You imagine they keep watching the way you look, the way you act. They think you're different. So you head for home. What else? But still, you can't forget that you're alone.
Well, let's get out of here before the smog gets us.
In the beginning, in fact, we thought God really messed up.
Put us together. But we survived because we're survivors now.
You're survivors, and you're gonna make it. You're gonna really like each other. I'm telling you, you're gonna like each other by the time you get there.
I've got smog in my noggin.
Hello, welcome to the Smog in the Nog podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back.
This is our first actual episode publishing.
Technically second.
Yeah. We do have a guest with us too, Tim.
What's up?
What's up, man?
You're our first official guest since we've revamped it, so.
That clip was way more haunting than I thought it'd be. You know?
Well, it didn't help that you cut it off when he's like, don't forget you're alone.
Yeah, I did that intentionally too. That's what made it haunting. Something about anything like pre-1960s is easily haunting if you want it to be.
Well, they didn't mind rubbing salt in the wound either. Like everything that guy was saying was just piling on that kid.
Yeah, it could sound morbid if you wanted to.
That's what you get for being different. How dare you?
That's actually the PSA itself is called Shy Guy. It's basically released to like tell a kid, like a middle-aged kid, how to interact with his fellow classmates and friends.
It was actually creepy instructions. Like if you watch the whole video, it's telling the kid how to be liked by his class and everything because he's new in school and he's weird. He's into like electronics or whatever.
He's not that weird to today's standards, though.
Well, that actually, you're right. By today's standards, he's like a pretty normal kid. You know, he actually would probably draw attention because he's like kind of smart and everything. But his dad basically just makes him feel like a loser. And he's like, if you want to become popular, you have to find a popular boy and then do whatever the boy does, like take notes. So the kid is literally sent off to school with like instructions to find a popular guy and then mimic everything that he does.
Right.
So you hear like his inner monologue in class, and he's like watching this guy talk to the ladies well and like do well in class. And he's like, wow, Jimmy's really popular with the ladies. Maybe I should try listening to women more.
Yeah, it's like not really manipulative, but in a sense, it's like viewed as like an outsider, like sociopathic kind of view, just in terms of like, you know, view it analytical and like determine how to be a human.
I wonder if things will come full circle when the robots are here and they'll be giving classes like that.
Right.
That's almost what it seemed like. It seemed like how to teach a robot to act like a human. Just do what the popular kids do, Jimmy.
Right. And that's just so funny how it's like there was nothing about him weird besides he was from a different town. He just moved there and he liked radios, which was probably pretty cool. And like, I think that was the 40s.
Early autism.
You're right. And he's a regular 4chan broadcaster.
I mean, is that a step up or down from trains? I'm not sure.
Right.
I like tuning radios.
That kid's into some sick shit.
So we kind of chose that too because we wanted to segue that into something else interesting that we had come across, which is the whole idea of spotlight effect. So I don't know if you wanted to kind of talk about spotlight effect or...
I think technically it's spotlight bias.
Egocentric bias.
Yes, okay. Egocentric bias, also known as the spotlight effect. Actually, if you want to give a...
By the way, Tim, we didn't prep you on any of this.
Right.
So for anyone listening, this is not because Tim isn't... he is ill-prepared, but that's through our own fault. So, but that way we can kind of more get his opinion on things without the bias of already knowing what some of the things we'll be talking about. So
True. And then, in our defense, too, we didn't do much prep.
this is true. It's because we already know everything.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the idea is like find something that piques our interest and then like, kind of explore it in the moment as opposed to like trying to teach people. So the spotlight effect is basically, it refers to something that was named in social psychology in terms of a specific study that was done where students were wearing bright yellow Barry Manilow t-shirts to a intro psych class. And they had them estimate how many people in the class they thought noticed it. And they basically greatly overestimated how many people were even noticing this ridiculous shirt they were wearing. So that's just an overarching kind of what led to this spotlight effect. And it's not biased in terms of like we all view ourselves as arrogant or value ourselves more, but that everyone's entire existence is from their own experience and perspective. And it's always pretty much thought of in terms of how something affects you to some degree.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
So basically, and I guess to elaborate on it, is the idea that like everything we think about is from our own perspective of it, because you can't experience something outside of your own brain. So everything you have is going to have the bias of having experienced it through your own self, which might tilt the way you think about it one way or another. You can't ever have a purely objective outlook on things because you're always going to have it through the experience of you actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
I know some of the ways that this is expressed is like in group projects. Every time they ask people about group projects, every person thinks they contributed more than they did, because every single person only looks at whatever they contributed, and that's all you can really account for. I mean, you can see what other people contributed, but you're always going to think that whatever work you did is the only work that you can really add up, so you did more work. Unless you're the person that's like, yeah, I pretty much didn't help with that group project. But, for the most part, every person thinks they're overrepresented in how much work was done.
Right. So that could be kind of like the negative side of it, I guess you could say. It's kind of, it could be dumbed down to being too just egocentric as a whole. But I think there's kind of a positive spin on it too, is like reinforcing that, like, hey, the world doesn't revolve around you. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Everything you think is a big of a deal is really not noticed for the most part.
That's definitely a good takeaway. Whenever they do studies of somebody who's doing something crazy in public and then they go ask the people around, they're like, did you notice what I was doing? Did you notice I was doing crazy stuff? Usually the people around them are like, no. Now, I will say that doesn't really take hold when Tim's doing crazy stuff in public, because everyone seems to notice Tim for some reason. You have a track record.
It's an aura.
What is it that gives you the gift?
I wonder sometimes. I used to wonder why, when I go out to places, that people will remember. But I think it's just the persona that people give off. It's a passion that you have for the things that you do. So it's like whenever I go out to do something crazy, I'm very passionate about what it is that I'm doing. So whenever I'm passionate about whatever you do in life, people are attracted to passion.
I would definitely agree.
When you go out, it's like trying to get a kid to do the newest dance that's coming out. If you go out to do the dance and you don't have any passion to do it, the kid's not going to want to do the dance that you're doing. But if you go out and you give off this persona that it's fun, it's exciting, it's new, it's something that's going to create a movement, then people will move with you. But if you go out and you're like, man, let's go out there and have a good time, man, kind of like chill, bro. Like, no, don't nobody want to go follow somebody that's like dumbed down, that's like mellow, that's like has no zeal, no passion, no love for what they're doing. So it's like when I go out, whatever I do, if I dance, I'm going to go crazy. If I'm going to wear Snuggie to the UF game, I'm going to go out with a big bang. Like, don't walk down the street and just be like, hey, I got a Snuggie. Like, go run in the street, go do the hokey pokey, go do I don't know, what's the new dance they got out the other day? I don't know,
but it's interesting because
that's a really good point. Though.
That begs the question: if you're doing things in public with the intention to get noticed, there is an energy that you can exude to get noticed. So our natural instinct is to not pay attention to people. However, if you have a certain kind of charisma to you, or the things you're doing are like full of passion, like Tim was saying, then you actually can like supersede that bias to not pay attention to other people than yourself, and you actually can get other people's attention.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like the passion supersedes the part of you that would actually give a shit.
Right.
And that's fucking
give a shit bias. That's what it should be called.
Right.
Because you really got to think about it. If a person goes out and they're doing something out of the norm, they had to, in their mind, already know, like, this is different. They have to already know that what I'm doing is going to be so abnormal to other people that other people are going to be drawn to it. So someone can go out and say, I'm not going to go out and like make a statement, but they know that what they're doing is going to create a statement from what they're doing. So when you go out there to create the statement, everyone's like, it's like Twitter, it's like Facebook, it's like all of social media. Everyone puts a picture up there. Everybody wants to get a like. No one puts a picture up there just to be like, look at this portrait that I got.
Right.
Everybody wants some type of
some gratification, notice this and like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, good.
Well, I was going to say the interesting takeaway is, maybe the more vigor or whatever that you put into it, like Tim was saying, the more reciprocation you'll get of those likes or whatever it may be, attention or.
Well, the interesting part about it to me too is that we all you can smell bullshit. So like faking it, like there's this like
that's true.
Part of you that you could tell if somebody is just doing it, like you said, just to do it, or if they have the passion behind it, you can sniff it out, and nobody likes a phony.
That is one thing I'll say about Tim is whenever Tim is doing something, even if it's just for yourself, you're doing it with like full 100% authenticity. And I think that is part of what, it's almost like that uncanny valley thing where like people know whenever you're faking something. So they want to see that like, not only is this person doing something they enjoy, but they're doing something from 100%. They just want to be doing it. They don't even care if anybody notices. And in a way that makes more people notice.
Yeah, nobody likes the fake zany guy, Like,
right.
look at this crazy thing I do, You gotta be all in and like actually shock people, not like, oh, that's what a zany person would do. Like, actually, like, what the fuck? You gotta elicit that reaction.
I don't know, Tim, you want to talk about any of the craziest times you've had a ton of attention on you? Because I can think of at least one.
How long is this podcast?
I mean,
a lifetime of
my immediate thought
adventures.
goes to high school in the bleachers. Yeah, everyone, can I have your attention? Have you heard this, Jordan?
I don't think. I mean, maybe.
It's up to Tim if he wants to share this or not, because I don't want to put him on the spot. But
I mean, see, for me, it's not about. It wasn't even about the attention. It wasn't about that. It's just, I'm all about having fun. And fun, as long as it doesn't require me going to jail, I'm about having fun. So
right.
I'm not someone that's going to be like trying to create fun. It's like you have to be fun. You have to be energetic. You have to love what you do.
Right.
And sometimes being crazy is just what I love to do. It's like a meter. And if I don't fulfill this meter of my life, I can't function well.
Right, you need that.
So you're gonna share the story with us?
There's something to.
Is that a
was
long-winded way of avoiding?
I was like, he's saying it very poetically because Brandon's dying laughing already.
So,
Honestly, it's because he put such a well-structured statement to such a funny story.
It's that passion.
because it's passion. Like, if you gonna do it, it's like that Nike. Just do it.
Oh yeah, you just did it all right.
Don't think about it.
What, did you
Don't
move
sit
someone?
there and put too much thought into it. If that's you, be you. It's like that song. This is who I am. This is me.
The
And
statements reflected do not reflect. We're not held
Views
liable.
expressed in this podcast.
Long story short, we are at this game, junior varsity game. All of the varsity football players went out to the game. And we were just talking about something, talking about life, doing life. And somebody was like, Tim, I dare you to go in front of the entire
Bleachers.
and was like, I dare you to take off your shirt and scream, hey, everybody, look at me, and then lick your nipples. So for me,
It seems so normal. That's what I was like, you just say, hey,
so
look
to
at
me,
me.
I'm not going to jail. To me, someone just dared me to do something. If you dare me, a daredevil to do something, a daredevil's going to do it.
Right.
Not thinking of the consequences. 'cause
Hey, no little bitch.
It's not about the consequences. It's about doing the action. It's all about the action and the passion you have for it. So I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I didn't think about it.
This is crazy because I used to have a very crazy bone in my body, and like out of nowhere, it just left. You know?
It's
In
still
terms
there.
of like
I
dare,
definitely feel you there.
like not passing up a dare, that kind of, not childhood daredevil, but the growing up kind of daredevil.
I totally understand that mentality.
Well,
I mean,
back
granted,
to
this
my
was
story.
12 years ago, but I remember
Right.
it clear as
I
yesterday.
know you probably wouldn't do that now.
So
Or
back
actually,
to
you might.
my story. Now that we know that y'all are not true,
Chapter 2.
crazy people, that y'all are not true to the craziness and the daredevil side of life.
You turned
It's
in
called
your
a-
badge.
So I go up, I go to the middle of the bleachers, I lift up my shirt, I say, hey, everybody, look at me. I grab my nipples and I lick them.
Both of them?
And then I walked away as if nothing happened. Because to me, nothing happened. I didn't do anything.
Did you hold up the Men in Black pen after?
Do anything crazy.
Exactly.
To me, it was just the excitement, the curiosity of what will people do. Curiosity kills the cat.
What did they do?
And I have 9 lives.
What did they do? They tried to kick his ass out of the game.
So they kind of kicked me out.
I'm not allowed within 100 yards of
a
a high school or any school for that matter.
He was in
wasn't
high
even-
school at the time, so
It wasn't
Still.
even about that. It was just, after that, the whole team had to go run
Oh,
for
shit.
the entire day of practice because they didn't want to say who it was, which I would have owned up to it because I own up to the things that I do because that's being real to who you are.
Right.
if I'm not mistaken, they did give you some Skittles though for doing it. So
Well,
well worth it.
that paid off.
So there's
the moral
definitely
to this
ways.
story is if you're dared to do something and it's not going to send you to jail, why not do it?
Oh, damn. They just took over and gave his own
I
moral
mean,
there.
it does make for a great story all these years later.
Yeah. But leave off the moral part. That's much better. It's more family friendly that way.
I mean, we were all dumbfounded.
just do that shit. Whatever it is.
Like, I know some crazy people, and I don't even think I know anybody else who would have ever done that. So the moral of the story for me is that you can totally subvert the spotlight effect of people not paying attention to anybody other than themselves.
But some
By-
people are just built for that, though.
Yeah, but by just going in the middle of the bleachers and going, everybody, and then licking your nipple.
Well, that's a good homework assignment if you want to, go down that road.
Yeah, take a
Start
video and send it to us. As long as you have to be over 18, though.
Yeah, for real.
And not in front of a bleachers full of kids.
Not be a dude.
I mean, there were some really butthurt moms, though. You know,
I can imagine.
Let me speak to the manager haircut ladies around full force. That what he just did. Yeah, people were fired up over that. It was like, calm down, okay, people.
Yeah, if I look at all the things that like those type of moms used to get mad at when you were growing up, you're like, geez, that's sad, dude. Like,
I know if you lived life by their rules, you would have not even lived life.
Right.
You might as well just never left the house.
Shut up, Karen. Bitch.
Damn. You got some pent up anger with some speak to your manager moms?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like a friend, like, oh, your mom's a bitch. She never lets us do bunk beds. But that was, I mean, okay, so at least we tied in, though. I mean, that was fucking great, by the way. But we tied in the spotlight effect to that video,
Yeah, so there isn't really much more to say about that. Basically, however much you think people are paying attention to you, they're really not. People got their own shit going on. Everything you're thinking in your own mind, everyone else is thinking in their own mind, and they're lost in their own thoughts all day. They're not sitting there thinking about you. So,
right. And I think like it's interesting too because there is, as we've talked about before, there's like a bias for everything. They always have like a whatever bias, and spotlight bias is just one of those like terms. I don't think it's very well known, and it only has that one like quote study about the Barry Manilow t-shirts. So it's not like the end all be all, like, but I think it leads to a greater point.
Yeah, I think egocentric bias is interesting because it does highlight the fact that we assign ourselves greater importance than what is fact, but we don't have any way to compare that against a standard because the only thing we can compare it against is ourselves. But I do know one of the ways that people overrepresent themselves is also with being good drivers. So majority of people you ask say they're a good driver, but that's not always the case. But we don't really have a good way of knowing what's a good driver or not because we're not inside the minds of other people when they're driving.
Right.
But a lot of people who say they aren't.
Everybody says they're a good driver.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think I'm that good of a driver, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, but it's only something I've come to realize recently. But then again, I could be wrong in that I don't know. We don't have anything to really compare it against. We compare other people's driving to ourselves, but who's to say ourselves is a good benchmark?
Well, I feel like that can keep smog in your nog anytime you think about it, is when you're trying to compare things against your own, viewpoint. You don't know the answer, but you're just like kind of testing it against all these different examples that you can think of, and like there's no answer. Like the idea of egocentric bias itself to me is pretty much a truth, at its base layer, but everything else that it encompasses that you would use it for, you'll never really have the answer. And you can ask people's opinions. You don't know.
Yeah. I know another thing too. Well, Tim, would you say you're a good driver?
I mean,
whoa,
Uber driver,
long pause.
I would sit here and say that I'm a good driver, but I'm not.
I didn't know you drove for Uber. Was that where the story's coming from that you told me about?
Yeah, buddy.
I'm gonna have to hear that. Does it tie into this at all? Doesn't matter. Now that I thought of it, I want to hear that shit.
Do you think you're a good driver?
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I think I'm a good driver, but I don't think... I think I'm such a good driver that I don't drive as safe as I should. Because I'm like, I got this shit.
I always think back whenever I think about my driving skills in like high school. I did this one crazy maneuver where like I squeezed between these cars and made a right-hand turn going like 30 miles an hour, like way too fast. And I had two passengers in the car, and they were both just like gripping the edge of this. They're like, "What the hell? Are you a racer?" And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. But now I look back on that, and I'm like, that's probably like the only good driving thing I've ever done. And that was probably just luck because I didn't understand physics, and then I probably could have killed everyone.
Right.
But otherwise, like I'm bad at parking. I don't know like how much space I have when I turn and shit. The only reason I don't get in accidents is because I rely on everybody to follow the damn rules of the road, which gives me plenty of clearance and everything.
Right. Dude, that actually reminds me, too. I don't know if you saw that video. I saw it today from someone at work. I'm pretty sure it's from this week of that chick. She's like, I want to say she's like 17 in China. She was doing like that Formula One racing and flew 175 miles through the window on a turn. It's a crazy-ass video. She lived, though.
See that.
She only had like a fractured spine or something.
Only.
Fucking nut. Dude, the
Only a
video's
fractured
nuts.
spine.
But that's the thing about it, though. It's like with driving, you have to understand that the standard of, like you said, the standard. Everyone has a standard of what is a good driver.
Right.
So a good driver to you might be compared as to someone who drives safe, someone who follows the rules.
Right.
That might be the good standard of a good driver for that person. But then as far as another driver who likes to drive fast, them getting from point A to B and going 110 miles, to them is a good driver because
It's true.
they are on a defense. They know how to get and maneuver through traffic. But it's not safe, but it all depends on the value that you put on what you're doing that makes the standard for yourself compared to other people.
Yeah, and that's still the spotlight effect because you're comparing what you drive to the other experiences with people who've probably been in their car, and what you value in terms of the speed, the safety, who has the better aux cord skills, playing the fire beats. It's just what you value.
It's interesting because I feel like being self-aware that I'm a bad driver has made me a more defensive driver because I'm more aware that, like, I need to just be cautious when I'm driving. Like, I don't try to make fucking crazy turns in front of people and shit, because I'm like, I'm not in a hurry. Because I'd rather be alive than, like, there 5 minutes earlier. So in a way, it's almost like a feedback loop where I'm making myself a better driver by thinking I'm a bad driver. But, in the end, none of us know because you can't really ever know. We can only compare against ourselves. But I thought that was interesting. And then the other place where it's overrepresented is whether or not you think you're smart. And, because people overvalue their own intelligence versus others because what's your benchmark for smart?
Dude, that's something I have no idea upon. Like, I consider way more people smart than probably are, but I feel like everybody has some form of intelligence that I could pick out,
Well, not everybody, but yeah.
A good amount of people, like, they're really fucking impressive at something. And that's smart to me because I don't really know what is smart, to be honest.
Right. Well, that's another thing. It's a pretty subjective measure.
Yeah, because when you think about it, like what Jordon is saying is like someone could be smart in cars and they can know everything about cars. But then you give them a book and tell them to read chemistry and then they might not be so smart at that. But it all depends on their level of passion. It's like if you're passionate about something, you're going to go full in on the thing that you're passionate about. But if you're not passionate about it, then you can't dictate someone being smart because if someone can research, if someone could write a letter, write a story, write a paper based off of what they know compared to someone else who can go write a history paper. Some people can write a 5-page history paper like this, like that. I can't do that. I don't know nothing about history. But if you go tell me to write something about psychology, now psychology is something I love to study. So you can't dictate how someone is smart based off of what they want to know compared to what other people do know.
And what other people say you should know.
That's true. I would say that's definitely true on like a smaller scale of intelligence. I think the main idea of intelligence would be like a transference of ability. So somebody who might not maybe know a lot about history, but could easily know a lot about history if that's where they focus their attention. And I think there's a lot of people that couldn't do that, where they could just, whatever they focus their attention on is what they're good at. But
I wonder how much of that is confidence. Not all of it, but I bet there's some degree of confidence because if you just go into anything saying, I'll figure it out, and you're actually being honest about the work you'll put in, like, if I do this, if I follow this path, this is what people do. Let's say I want to, whatever it is, be a history writer. I don't know. if I just say I'm going to do that, I have this example that people that are successful at being a history writer. It's a terrible example, but there's a framework. I can just follow that path. I just think there's some degree of confidence in there.
And I have an example of that because growing up, I always had a cousin. And my family always compared me and my cousin. And my cousin, she was someone that could read something once and pick up on it, grasp all the concepts of it, and she can get a 4.0 like this. But for me, I still got a 4.0, but it was all willing to how much work I put in. Where she could have put in 2 hours, I could have put in 6 hours, but because I studied, I prepared, I put in the work that was needed to learn what I needed to learn, the grades were still the same. So how can you dictate how smart a person is when they both got an A, but one person put in more work?
Right.
So that's kind of like what you're saying is that if you put in the work, because a lot of people say, oh, I put in work and I studied for that test. But really, they only put in an hour. But if they would have put in more time into what they were actually doing, they could actually grasp the concepts of what they were studying. But a lot of people don't take the time to really learn what they what they're not interested in.
Yeah, and you can feel smart at one thing and really dumb at another. Like, for instance, someone that probably would put the work in might also be organized, scheduled. Like, I feel like an idiot if I compare myself to them in terms of, like, whatever, smart, in quotes. So you could really dwarf someone in smarts on a specific topic, depending on what it is.
So I think intelligence is more of like a raw indicator of ability, whereas all of these other factors, confidence, hard work, determination, all that are paths to the same route that intelligence can get you to, and they can still end in success. So it's almost like two branches to get to the same area. But with the measure of intelligence, and going back to the egocentric bias, we don't really have a good way to test it. And all the studies show the smarter somebody thinks they are, the more likely they aren't smart. So it's like a weird, almost inverse thing. And that's because the dumber you are, the less you realize you don't know. You can't even begin to fathom the things you don't know. So you think you've already grasped the entirety of whatever it is that's available to everyone.
I feel like I really don't even think about it at all. I'm like, am I smart? Like, it's just not something. I judge a lot of other people on, like, wow, like that person's. I just think of them just in terms of smart, but I don't really gauge myself on that. It just doesn't even cross my mind. Not into like, oh, I'm not, or I am. I just.
So I know one thing I have a problem with, and this is definitely egocentric bias, is the idea that, like, I come off feeling like a lot of people I run into are dense, and it's not they might not even be that dense, but I have a really good recall of things. Like, I can remember things really easily. So, whatever, even if I'm like switching subjects or whatever, or even if it's like trying to remember something from a week ago, I'm usually very good at recalling that stuff. And then, like, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, if they don't recall it the same way I do, I immediately think like, oh, this person's really dense. How can they not remember this? But it's because I'm holding them up against my own experiences where I can usually recall things. And, like, the standard probably isn't to be able to recall things that quickly. But because it's the only thing I know, I feel like probably everybody assumes they're the average bar. So, like, I assume I'm the average bar. So if somebody's not doing it as quick as me, then they must be dumb.
Well, and it's also how significant of an event was what you're referring to. You might have put more importance on it, like, oh, file that for later. That's and true. Also, are you communicating it effectively? Because I can get frustrated by someone not understanding something, but there's a huge portion of it that's just me skipping 10 steps ahead thinking I'm communicating. I'm not,
That's true. But I'm referring to, like, say something happens, an event happens in front of the two of us or something. or we see something happen, and then a week later I'm able to recall everything. But then the other person, they don't even maybe remember that the event happened. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, like how stupid is this person? But, maybe I'm not a fair benchmark. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just another example. The fascinating thing about that is it really goes to show the depth of how much things we base on our own experiences. I mean, everything we're judging in life has to do with our own comparisons of it.
Oh, this is a good one. When people participate in group discussions, they tend to overestimate how memorable their negative contributions are to the group.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah. You're like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that.
I would say even how much they talk in a group.
Oh, yeah.
We had that with the first podcast where it felt like each of us was like, oh, we talk too much. And then we listened, and it was pretty 50-50.
Pretty balanced. I feel like that every time we record. I'm like, fuck, I was talking the whole damn time.
Yeah, the only thing I can guarantee is Tim is not talking as much. No, just kidding.
He dropped his poetic shit and then dropped the mic.
That's the best way to do it.
Yep, hit it strong and get out. Well, yeah, I mean, some of these are kind of self-explanatory, but yeah, it's just the general idea. So I think there's positives and negatives to it.
Yeah, so that was just kind of something we wanted to introduce. We'll probably just do short segments in the beginning like that on different things that we find interesting. As always, feel free to drop some stuff on us.
Ooh, I found another thing.
Oh, that we judge? Go for it.
It's related. It's called the illusion of transparency. That's what causes us to overestimate how well other people can discern our emotional state. So that's like a kind of parallel, or I guess perpendicular cognitive bias, where you're basically just assuming people are reading you, and when you're really not giving much.
Right.
I could be guilty of that for sure.
But I feel like we're pretty blatant about our emotions, because we were actually talking about that earlier. So
on our face, like people can read our face.
Maybe we are kind of transparent.
Yeah, but it's also though that like you think what is on the inside, the internal state, like your thoughts and emotions are like wildly apparent to other people.
True.
In general.
Yeah, like the depth of our thinking about something.
What you're living inside, people are seeing from the outside.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that Smog's my nog.
Like, they might be able to tell that you're upset, but in your mind, you're like, dude, they definitely know I'm upset about this because of this.
I dropped some breadcrumbs.
Yeah, but really, they're like, well, I know he's mad, but I don't really know why he's mad. Yeah, I could definitely understand that.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were about to share something else that you found that was interesting.
No, I don't want to keep...
Just leave us hanging.
My mouth is so dry. I don't want to like read that. I just thought that was interesting. But I do want to hear this Uber story.
Are you going to share an Uber story with us?
It's one specific one, or you just wanted to hear one?
Well, I've been doing Uber about 11 months now. And, most people, it's just like the same thing. Most people base Uber based off of their experience. And with me, my experience with Uber is I've only had one crazy experience. Everyone's like, oh, someone's going to throw up in your car. Drunk people are going to get in your car. This is going to happen. And I'm like, it all is based on the area, based on where you drive, based on the environment of the people that you live by. And for me, I've only had one encounter that I would say was a crazy Uber experience. And it happened with me in Tarpon, where I went to go and pick up this person. And when I went to go pick up this person, I guess there was a couple. I thought they both were getting in the car. And the girl was like, you can go. So I drove off, thinking I'm going to just do my normal thing, my job. I come back around. I hit a dead end. Had to turn back around. When I came back around, the dude is in his car blocking the street.
Oh, shit.
So as this dude is in the car blocking the street, I'm like, okay, like what the hell's going on? So I try to go around him. Next thing you know, he backs up. So I was like, oh hell, this is gonna be one of them kind of nights.
The Jeepers Creepers music plays.
You know, I'm in a not so nice area. You know, it's pretty good area, but you know,
You had to sweeten the story up.
you know, just for African American, you know, might not be the best spot, but
He was living Get Out.
so pretty much me, I was like, I'm just gonna like find a way to get around this person because you know clearly he's not thinking straight. Because who does this? Who blocks their car in the middle of the street? So I'm like, okay, I go and I look, I search my surroundings. You know, you got to know how to get the exit. When you go into a movie theater, you got to always know how to get out. If somebody want to come in and try to shoot up the place. So I'm sitting here and I was like, okay, I see a little exit. So I decide to hit it. I go up this hill in somebody's yard through.
What's the
these
girl
trees.
saying?
She's just like, oh shit, oh shit.
Which doesn't help.
So I was like, oh shit, what? So this dude decides to back up, like backing up. The girl's mother is behind this guy. So he does not see her, runs her over,
What?
completely runs her over. Then when he runs her over, just
Like head on the
backs up,
windshield?
hit her, and then starts chasing me down the street.
What the fuck? In your car? He's running after the car?
Chasing me down the street. So she's yelling, he's got a gun. So I'm like,
What
oh,
the
shit,
fuck?
nigga got to get away. So then I'm racing down the street, don't know where the hell I'm going, trying not to hit another turn. He's trying to push me off the street with his car. So I'm running down the street, I'm running red lights, running stop signs, I'm cutting off cars to try to get cars in between us. He's going around the cars. So he chases me down Tarpon for 7 minutes. And then finally I ran the stop sign and there's a cop there. So when the cop pulls over, long story short, the girl ended up going to jail.
For what?
They said she was trying to kill herself.
What?
So the story plot got twisted to where he worked it out to where she got put in jail.
Oh,
And
he pulled
got
some.
pretty much free, I believe.
What? That's creepy, dude.
So,
And she probably ended up right back there the next day at his house or whatever.
so for the fact of me being an Uber driver for 2 months, and that was my first encounter, that was really crazy like that. But you know, since my life is crazy and you know crazy stuff happens all the time, I went to Uber right back after that. I was like, bitch, you need money.
I mean, I told him, I was like, you're better than me. As soon as she got in the car and somebody was trying to block me in, I'd be like, okay, and the ride ends here. Good luck. Hopefully he doesn't run you over as well.
That's fucking nuts,
But
dude.
it's just like that effect. It's like if you drive down the street and you see somebody getting hurt or beat up, something serious happening, and then you're like, oh, well, somebody else is going to take care of it. Somebody else is going to take care of it. But in that situation, I had to either help her get away, or I could put her back in harm's way. So it's like I made a decision to try to help her, not knowing that putting myself in that predicament that this man was going to be chasing me all the way down Tarpon. But, you know, my mindset was to help. Because if in life, if everyone sees a problem and no one helps, then who knows what could have happened that night. He could have beat her, he could have killed her, and then my conscience would have not been good. That I just dropped this woman off in front of this abusive, crazy ass man.
Well, I'd be like, still better than my ass getting beat or run over or whatever. So I got bills to pay. I can't be
What
in the
about the
hospital.
mom? You could have saved the mom by dropping her off. She would have been like, "Oh, beat my daughter though. She's young."
She was just recording it for World Star. She was the innocent bystander. She's like, World Star.
I'm gonna make it look like a dash cam. Oh shit!
Bump, bump.
So yeah, it was a pretty messed up night.
That's nuts.
I
That
mean,
was
that-
pretty recently?
That happened 2 months into him driving.
I like how you started off like, yeah, everyone says Uber, you have crazy shit happen. Yeah. that
I haven't
doesn't
had
happen.
anything.
Yeah.
I haven't had throwing up but I did have this one time.
You know what's interesting too? I don't think it's necessarily the fact that it's Uber, even though you do have to deal with like drunk people and stuff, but it's a very specific job where that I could think of where you have to deal with like you're going to have a lot of interactions with every type of person. Doesn't matter, it's a random assortment, a broad paintbrush of any type of person in a few cities that could be out there. So you just have such a higher potential to fucking interact with a crazy person, Like very few jobs you're put in that situation alone.
I feel like that's like all service jobs.
Yeah, but even that, this is specific because you're alone,
Right.
having to pick up any person
Yeah,
from
do
the
you have a
rainbow.
dash cam, dude? I'd have some cameras.
Oh yeah,
No,
At the very least, you can get cameras. I know there's a guy on YouTube that's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and all he does is just record his things.
I got in one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this guy was like in a minivan. Pretty sure I was by myself. No, I think I was with Matt, and he's like, "Do you guys care if I'm recording you guys?" I'm like, "No, I guess." Because at first I think he said it was safety, but then we actually got moving. He's like, "Yeah, I'm live streaming." He was like an older dude, probably like at least 50. And he had like one camera going, and then he had like his phone recording. And I think he even took a picture of us at the end or something. Or he was like trying to be like, "Whoa, hey," like
Yeah.
this fucking cash cab or something.
Well, I know the guy that's most famous, he doesn't live stream, so he edits everything. So that he doesn't have to act like that craziness. Because when you're live streaming, you have to act kind of crazier to keep people watching the stream. But whenever
Yeah.
you just post it, people can watch at their own convenience. You don't have to be like fake. That goes back to the whole, people can sniff out when you're being fake excited about it. The guy, I mean, his personality seems decent, but it's usually the crazy situations is what gets noticed. But I think he drives a lot for like a college town or something. So there's lots of crazy.
Yeah, that's fucking.
but
That
what's
would be a
even
problem.
More crazy is when you get the people that get in your car and they think that you're recording them.
Oh, really?
I had someone recently get in a car and
You got those seat cameras installed?
they were sitting there like, "Is there a camera in the car?" They're like hiding behind the seat, trying to talk low. Like
Oh, I'd always be like, hell yes.
she's like, "I can't be on the camera. I can't be dealing with this. I can't be. I'm this. I'm that. I'm that. Are you sure?" I'm positive.
I'd be
There's no
like,
camera in my car.
and that'll be the end of the ride. That'll be 1 penny. Thank you. Have a good day. Like, I'm not playing with any weirdness. No,
Have you
don't be
picked up any
sketchy.
drug dealers, you think?
Some people say with Uber that you don't ever pick up the same people. I've picked up, like, when I say stuff happens to me that don't normally happen to people, I picked up one guy twice in the same week. I picked up one guy twice in the same 3 hours,
Okay, there's one.
which is very rare. And people are like, "This does not ever happen." And I'm like,
I've had it happen before. I think I've had it happen the same night, too. But I never use Uber.
I think it depends on
Anymore.
the areas. I don't need it that much anymore, so I don't use it.
If I'm drinking, I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
But that's
But
rare.
we don't go out drinking that much anymore.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of local competitors now. That's kind of the thing is like, not here, obviously, but certain cities are trying to have like their own kind of, this is going to be our basically ride sharing app. So like only local people use
I've
it.
been seeing a lot of lifts around.
Lyft gives out a lot of deals. Has Uber kept up with that? I know they're competing hard.
nope, Uber don't really do that. They pretty much have the clientele to not have to do that.
I think that's what they're living off
Where
of, the
Lyft
brand recognition.
Lyft is not nationwide.
Oh, really? Huh.
So Uber, which if you are an Uber driver and you live and you're going to Colombia, don't do it.
Okay, fuck. Gotta cancel my plans.
Because over there, taxi drivers are now starting to abuse Uber drivers.
Yeah.
Because they're getting fed up because they're taking money from the taxi drivers. So taxi drivers are calling Uber drivers to a certain spot and have a bunch of people there to smash their cars and beat them up. So, got to be careful with.
That was happening in the U.S. for a while too. Whenever Uber first came around.
Remember in Paris when they were throwing fucking cinder blocks through the windows?
Yeah, Paris too.
There's been when that was really going on a few years ago, like people refused to put any kind of Uber or Lyft stickers. Now I see them all the time.
Yeah.
But I remember like the drivers used to be like, "Are you fucking crazy? I'm not putting that shit on my car."
Is it required now? I've noticed a lot more.
It's not required, but it's just for the safety for the people, because literally this one lady walks up to my car and she goes behind my car and I'm like, what the hell is this lady doing? She checking my tag.
What?
She like looking at my car, like the name of the car, and I'm like, I'm the only car in this parking lot.
I'm guessing 45,
like,
blonde
picking
female.
her up from like
Name is Patty.
a restaurant that was so dead. I'm like literally the only car that has their lights on. And she's like, she went to my car and checked 3 times. And I was like, lady, is it really that serious?
Hello?
She was like, checking my car.
Is it me you're Ubering for?
That'd be a good like little gag. Have the karaoke set up in there. A little mobile
There
karaoke.
you go. Let them do karaoke in the back.
Yeah, those
You
3
need
a.m.
the
rides.
van. You can do the taxi cab confessions or whatever.
We could be like, "Welcome to the F Shack, yeah, disco shack."
Typically, I am the one that leads the karaoke for them.
I bet.
True. There you go. It's not a bad business idea.
Yeah, but you're right. I've been seeing a lot more of the stickers, so I didn't even think about that. They're getting more bold.
Ooh, I got a question. Do you feel obligated to chat with the person that gets in the car, or do you read out their
I
persona?
don't feel obligated. Some people you have to fill them out, because some people you can tell they don't want to talk.
Yes, I've been
Most
there.
people who want to talk typically would get in and try to start a conversation with you, but until I see that person is open for it, I don't talk to everyone.
Here's where density comes in. You're talking about people being dense. Those are people that I think are dense, or they're being purposely so just selfish. I don't know what it is, but I get in multiple Ubers or Lyfts, and the person, I'm exuding out of myself. Don't fuck with me. Like, I could be hungover, going to get my car from the night before, like, just not in the mood, maybe headphones in, just like demeanor is fucking stone face, leave it alone. And they're just poking and poking and poking, and they're giving one-word answers, and they just keep digging. That to me is what dense is.
See, I always have the opposite because I like to talk.
Yeah,
so when I get in the Uber, I'll like try to talk to them, and then it's like talking to a wall.
That's funny.
And I'm like, it's kind of crappy that you have like a service position, like, and some of the drives will be like solid drives. I remember when I had to drive from the dealership to the house, it was like a 25 minute drive. And like me just keep trying to make conversation because I'm like, I don't want to just be sitting
You should be an Uber driver,
for
dude.
20 minutes and then just like nothing.
You're on the wrong team. Dude, I got a great first I didn't have a bad Uber experience for like over a year of using it. And I was using it frequently. It was before I had a car. This is my first bad experience. It was like literally 6 or 7 a.m. coming from the beach to go back to my house. And my car was at my friend's house. So this guy has like a very thick Irish accent, and he's being a dick at 6 a.m., even though he's coming to pick us up. And he's like asking for directions for some reason. The map wasn't working, and he was asking for the turns. And I'm like, left. He's like, left. I'm like, right, left. He's like, take left. And he just keeps getting more pissed and angry. He keeps asking. I'm like, all right, tell him directions. Yep, right. And then he was like, left. I'm like, yeah, left, or right, left. I didn't realize I'm saying right, left in the moment, and he starts fucking freaking out, like just going AWOL on me. And I completely ruined the story by saying he told me the right, left thing, but this guy went apeshit because he wasn't understanding that I was telling him right. He goes left. I go right. Not thinking at 6 a.m. And like this guy was infuriated with us. He starts snapping all of us. We're like, dude, what is your problem? After he's dropping us off, he's like, you keep saying right, left, right. You messing with me in the morning. Fucking freaking out. And that's not even an Irish accent, but he talked an Irish accent. Hey, terrible storytelling.
You're telling me to go right, and I'm trying to go left.
Yeah, but like infuriated. Like so bizarrely angry. And we didn't pick it up. We're like, what the fuck? We already gotten out of the car, and we were like kind of walking in, and we're just like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, he was mad because of the right, because he, to us, it just sounded like, left, right. I was like, what the fuck? That's confusing.
I don't think I have any crazy Uber stories to tell. But I do like Uber. I've never taken Lyft. Every time I talk about Uber and Lyft, I think of that Little Dicky song. Ubers are not around here, ho. Taxis will come, but they real slow. Hey, the brain got a poop.
Oh, yeah. That's a great song. Any other thoughts on the old spotlight effect?
I don't think I have much to add. You have anything to add, Tim?
I don't think we hit it all.
It's good stuff.
The world is yours.
Oh, perfect. That's an hour. Yeah. So I think that was good. Thanks for joining us, Tim. Hopefully, since you're around, you'll come and join us more.
Yeah, we do appreciate Tim joining us, being our first official guest.
Yeah. You're a much better storyteller than, I don't want to say we are, but definitely than I am.
Well, Tim has got a wealth of stories to tell. That's the good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So anytime we have a topic that we need a story on, pretty good odds that Tim's got one.
Well, collectively, we have some crazy stories, too.
Yeah, this
I'll
is
just
true.
need help
Probably the
remembering
three of us have more stories combined than any three people.
Yeah.
If there's anything that could ever happen to anyone, I guarantee you, I have a story.
Dude, what about if we got to touch on that wrestling party story one time? You remember that? That was fucking nuts.
That'll be a good one.
I got to think of the nicknames and everything. A little inside joke. Sorry about that.
So now what we'll have to do is start picking our topics based around what we know Tim has really good stories for.
Well, I just casually remember you saying an Uber story and you saying it was a good story. I didn't know it would tie into this. It was just perfect.
Yeah. We'll have to start doing the phone a friend where, okay, and for today's story, we'll be calling Tim.
Story time with Tim.
Just pick some random thing. Okay, Tim, what you got on Teletubbies? Yo, you don't even know. So, when I was 5, right? So did you want to plug the places where they'll be able to download the podcast?
Yeah, so podcast, of course, is smogonthenog.com for the website. We're on the major podcast apps, of course, iTunes and Stitcher, Google Play. So if you can give us a review, we definitely appreciate that. Also, if you can email us at smogonthenog@gmail.com and give us anything that kind of smogs your nog that you'd like to bring up, and we'll definitely address it if it's good, and try to incorporate it somehow.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Peace.